Okay, so good evening once more. This is our usual Saturday weekend session. It's 4 o'clock, 17th of August, and we'll be first taking a look at the Nifty and the sectors from a weekly, daily perspective, and we'll position ourselves according for the next week, strategize ourselves accordingly. So, starting off with the Nifty, it's been half a month now, calendar half a month, and the monthly charts on the Heikin looks okay. Nothing significantly to worry about, significant to be worried about. The weekly charts are going through a bit of a consolidation. We can see that the size of the Heikin bodies have shrunk. Last week's Heikin was a red Heikin. This week, what we call is as a green HGB. The trend indicators are intact. The momentum indicators have just started to slow down, which anyways the price is also reflecting. It's a bullish chart, but a bullish chart which is going through a bit of a short-term correction. If that's what the weekly chart is telling us, then the daily chart clearly reflects that. We have seen that we've got one round of sell-off. It was pretty sharp. Then a bit of a bounce back, a little bit of sell-off, and then an equally very, very sharp bounce back coming on Friday session. So in short, we can say that, hello, we've got some volatility choppiness back into the market. In terms of the daily time frame, the trend, the direction has turned downward. The momentum is also kind of helping that move on the downside. What we call in our language, we call it a second degree sink on the downside. Unless the stock, the prices, the index reverses, the bias continues to stay negative, right? In fact, if you take a closer look at the Nifty daily time frame, you can say that, oh, this is shaping up like one of our setups which we love to trade. We call it the thunder setup, right? But nevertheless, the important thing was yesterday, Friday's almost 400 point gainer, which has created a big green Heikin and which is now has got a bit of a doubt whether this is it. This is over, and now we are probably back to a new life high. If you remember, when this particular sell-off had come, I had drawn these two lines, and I was of the opinion that maybe the market is going to take a shape of a broadening formation, and then maybe what we call as a diamond formation. A broadening formation is where higher highs, breakout fails, breakdown fails. And so I would, number one, request everyone, do not trade breakouts right now, especially from the daily time frame. Our smallest time frame which we track is predominantly the 125-minute time frame. At times we take a look at 75 when we want to go aggressive. Over here we've got some improvement. So Nifty, all the four time frames tells us that we are likely to face some more volatility choppiness that will continue on the daily time frame. Lower time frame traders will find it difficult. Larger time frames are still all right, not an issue. In terms of levels, on the downside, it will be this particular low of Wednesday, which is 24,099. So it's like 24,100, or for all due purpose, you can use 24K. 24K on the downside is going to be the trigger for fresh downsides. On the upsides, if the index continues to rally, then who knows? A 25K breakout will again be questionable whether it sustains or not. As short-term traders, we will keep our bias split between the bullish as well as the bearish side, and we will be looking for opportunities where the setup is more convincing. So we're open to that. Take a look at the small mid cap and the CNX 500. CNX 500, you will see that the small cap mid cap did manage a bounce, but the charts are still clearly what we call as a second degree sink on the daily time frame. The weekly charts have just created a green HA, and let's understand one thing very clearly is if this market has to correct, if this leg of correction is going through a bit of a consolidation, and then it will correct more. If that is going to be the future, then the trigger for that is going to be last week's low, 17,950 kind of level for the small cap. Any break below last week's low, if the last week we have a green hike in HAGB as we call it, if that low is breached, the possibility of an extension on the downside increases significantly. Of course, one is the breach of the low, second is a close below the low. These 2 points you have to remember. If your mindset is more towards the bearish side, you're not too convinced on the bullish side at this juncture. Number one, if the market breaks below last week's low or not. Number one. And number two, after breaking below that low, did it just bounce back immediately or did it stay low and close below? So these 2 points you have to keep in mind if you're looking for any kind of weakness. And that holds true for the small cap, the mid cap, the CNX 500 also. Out of these three, I think small cap has the highest possibility, or the charts are more inclined towards that breakdown. Now coming to the sectoral indices, starting off with none other than the Bank Nifty. Now if you remember, I've been particularly bullish or looking for bullishness from the private sector banks and the Bank Nifty, especially when I was looking at the weekly charts. Because from the weekly charts, what we had was a first degree sink and then a second degree sink of positivity. And our short-term RSI indicators were going further down towards that oversold region zone. Most of the time, generally, such combination of readings leads to a bounce back. And this was the area where I was expecting, but then nevertheless, the Bank Nifty came down further, and it has also given us a green HAGB. Now, these are the kind of trades which we generally do not discuss in our program, because our program is more about the momentum of the chart. This is more like a contrarian sign, more like a contrarian signal. Bank Nifty, from a contrarian point of view, a move above Friday's high, it goes above that and stays above that, you can expect at least a 50% retracement of this fall. We can easily expect that. We can. Because the higher time frames are strong, the weekly time frame should give us a bounce back if that comes. If it doesn't come, then we are gone. Then the Bank Nifty will contribute to the overall market's weakness. As of now, it looks like Bank Nifty has the chance above Friday's high to kind of contribute to the upside movement. CNX Finance and the Bank Nifty charts are very, very similar, and I have the similar view on the CNX Finance. So you have to keep an eye on something like Bajaj Finance and Bajaj Finserv also. Coming to a few stocks, so let me just mark Bank Nifty so that we'll remember this. This is a contrarian bullish. Finance is also a contrarian bullish. That's clean. Now that we discussed Bank Nifty, it only makes sense that we quickly take a look at the PSU banking index as well as the private sector. Now the PSU bank, what my view is more like sell PSU, buy private if the private sector bank, if the Bank Nifty overall sustains well. One, because the weekly charts of the PSU banking index is weakening. Clearly, it's a first degree sink. Any pullback is a shorting opportunity from here on. Secondly, the daily time frame does not offer any significant contra behavior. It has a bit of contra behavior in it, but see, it did not participate as much as it would have liked to in the bounce back last day. However, if you take a look at the private sector banks will of course kind of mirror the Bank Nifty. So HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, Axis Bank, I think is going to be very important. Kotak Bank, struggler, but I think it's HDFC Bank and Axis Bank that can lead. So private banks, positive. Let's see whether it shapes up like that or not next week. Now, this is interesting, which is the CNX Auto. Interesting because exceptional strength on the monthly, no doubt. It's tired on the weekly. We can clearly see these readings. It has given us a breakout which has failed. The breakout fails and now consolidates. On the weekly charts, we have what we call as a green HAGB. Direction wise, no problem. Momentum wise, no problem on the downside. So we do not have a sink. It's the momentum readings which is telling us that the chart is tired and it's likely to consolidate or correct. Those who trade the F&O market or can go short, keep an eye on last week's low for CNX Auto. I will again repeat the same two rules, two main pointers. One, slip below the low. Two, close below the low. If you have both the pointers by the end of next week's close, CNX Auto is likely to give you a short-term correction. Till then, I would suggest that find your shorts, if at all you short this pack, carefully, cautiously. Very strong sector, they tend to bounce back very quickly. If you get a short, and let's say the short is playing out and you're making some buck out of it, do not sit on that position for long enough time, because it's a bullish market, the reversals will be sharp. So CNX Auto, I'll mark it red. It shouldn't be red. Probably if I had the chance, I would have made it a little lighter hue or lighter tone of red, but it's not bearish. It's more like a gutsy, risky, short opportunity looking that there. CNX Energy. Now, this is one chart which is giving us a slant divergence for months now. And it's been dragging itself up, no doubt about it. But it's the daily chart where the trend, the momentum, the pullback is all a beautiful sink on the downside. It's a first degree clean sink on the downside. It has a bit of a supporting evidence for us from the weekly time frame. That is primarily the slant divergence. If we zoom in and close and take a closer look at the weekly time frame, we do not get anything significant apart from signs of slowdown. A great run up on the monthly. So if Friday's low gets breached, 42,200 on the CNX Energy, you can get some kind of a weakness in this particular sector. So keep an eye on the OMCs, keep an eye on Reliance, keep an eye on NTPC and ONGC. Maybe we can get some move from there. FMCG, and I'll talk about FMCG and consumer durables together. Very strong monthly, very strong weekly, flaggish behavior on the daily. Momentum has cooled off completely. Trend has gone sideways. We've been primarily bullish in this pack. We would not want to sell this. Like we spoke about Energy Auto, there are no such signs on the weekly chart or the monthly chart which tells us, listen, you can go short on the FMCG. So FMCG, we're going to stay away. I'm not going to flag it. It's predominantly bullish. There's no short signal, so we are not going to take that. Consumer durables, complete turnaround. If you remember, consumer durables was a pure first degree sink negative some 3-4 trading sessions back. There was a bit of a slowdown of our momentum indicators here on the weekly chart. Monthly is very, very strong. Didn't see the index, bouncing back like this. It had given us a breakout. If you remember, we had drawn this. This is daily chart. Breaks out, fails, pull back. And generally, these charts should open up. If the breakout is serious breakout failure, they generally open up on the downside. In this case, nothing like that happened. The index went up. Expect choppiness, expect volatility. This range actually doesn't mean much to us right now, so I'm going to delete that. Neither bullish nor bearish. If I go by the structure of these charts, just by the angle of the price behavior, of course bullish. But it's not offering me any trigger, any low risk trigger point. So I'm going to stay away. So CNX FMCG, structurally bullish. Consumer durable, structurally bullish. No signs to short and no significant signs to go long either. Stay away from both of them. Similar view we will have in IT, wherein the monthly charts are very strong, weekly just slowing down, daily charts giving us a nice little bounce back. And yeah, it's probably going to create this range for itself. We can try small, cheeky, 1 day, 2 day kind of long trades or short trades in and out of the market, but I would not suggest you to go short in the IT pack. It tends to support the market well when it needs it. So stay bullish. If you find any long opportunities, then only take it. The CNX IT sectoral index is not offering us any signal right now. So bullish, but we are not looking for any trade next week. Comes metal. Metal is one sector which has corrected quite a bit in the recent fall. After a sharp bounce back, it actually opened up pretty well on the downside. But now, structurally, I think that it's going to probably buy some time, stay volatile, and try and give us a short-term bounce back. Again, there are some contrarian signals, readings on the daily time frame, which can give us a small little bounce back. The small little bounce back can lead to a bounce back on the weekly charts. The weekly trend momentum readings are negative. So we should be looking for shorting opportunities. What I'm trying to say is sell on a rise, but first wait for the rise. If the rise is significant and it reverses the trend, then the story will change. So charts are bearish, doesn't make sense to short here. It's too late. If you're a contrarian trader, you can look for some bounce back opportunities. So just like Bank Nifty, I'm also going to mark metal green. Risky long opportunity from the daily time frame. The setup is not there yet. We might find. So keep an eye on something like Tata Steel, Jindal Steel, JSW, Hind Copper. You can keep an eye on that as well. Pharma, exceptionally strong charts you will see here across the monthly, across the weekly, no signs whatsoever. A bit of a sign of a slowdown on the daily. So don't go long over here. If you're a contrarian trader, you may look for shorting opportunities. Not something that you would like to hold on for short term. So bullish chart, but I don't think it makes sense to look for any kind of a trade, bullish trade right now. Bearish trade, if you take trades on the downside, first I would suggest don't, because it's a very strong sector. But if you really want to, look for break below Friday's low. If you trade lower time frames, look for breakdowns where you get trend, momentum readings down. Pullbacks, you can trade them. If you trade these kind of, setups wherein you're trying to short a sector or a stock which is predominantly very, very strong across multiple time frames, please short-term trades. Do not expect huge move downs. Just execute and get out as soon as possible with some profits, hit and run kind of behavior. Reality. This has got some meat in it to discuss. Now, monthly strong, half of the month is gone. The index is creating a doji on the Heiken-Ashi, so it's definitely consolidating. It's gone through one leg of fall on the weekly time frame, and then we have a pullback. And what we can say is the momentum indicators are in sync on the downside. If we zoom into the T1, T2s, they're not that in sync. But nevertheless, red Heiken, green Heiken, HHGB, pullback bar, range indicators are telling us it's okay, manageable. So Friday's low, or last week's low to be precise, is the key over here. Let it bounce back. You can see that the daily chart has given you 1, 2, 3. So 3 legs on the downside, 3 meaningful legs on the downside. So it needs to give you a pullback, maybe a little bit more, and then it might open up further on the downside. It's not easy to short this sector, by the way. In the past, it has always managed to bounce back very sharp. Structurally bearish from the weekly, not a good place to look for longs. If I want to do a contra trade, if I want to go long in this kind of market, then I would like to take a look at something like a Bank Nifty or banking stocks which can support the Nifty. I would not stick my neck out and go long on reality when the weekly charts are weak. So I'm going to mark reality red. Let's see whether I get that extended pullback and then the fall or not. So that's our sectoral analysis. If you track and analyze the sectors and look for opportunities the way that I do, the next step for you would be take a look at all the constituents of Bank Nifty, auto, energy, finance, and the rest of the sectors individually, and check that if there's any banking stock which meets or is showing you any kind of a bullish setup, which kind of corroborates with the bullish view on the Bank Nifty, and similarly auto, energy, and reality, etc. Right? Okay, so that's the sectoral analysis. Now quickly, let's take a look at the trades that we identified during our live sessions, and let's see if there is any requirement to trail any of the SLs. And then we'll take a look at your questions and fresh trades, fresh opportunities for the next week.